everyone. My name's Hannah Wendt. I'm the Director of Operations here at TruDiagnostic, and we are back for a recording question and answer session with one of our clinical trial study members. So welcome to the show, Dr. Shade. We have known you for quite a while here at TruDiagnostic, and we're super excited to speak with you today. But for those who aren't as familiar, can you explain just your background and especially your company Quicksilver for those who may not be familiar?
Well, thanks, Hannah. Thanks for having me. It's been a joy working with TruDiagnostics. I'm Chris Shade. I'm a Ph.D. and CEO of Quicksilver Scientific. And so what do? We make a whole series of supplements where our original foundation was in detoxification. And we expanded from that into metabolic medicine. And those link so deeply into anti-aging medicine that we just evolved them into anti-aging longevity medicine. And we originally started in doing mercury detoxification. That's Quicksilver Scientific. Quicksilver is the old word for mercury in Europe. It means liquid silver. And to do that, we needed to get glutathione, which is an antioxidant and detoxification tripeptide that you make, into the system. But it can't go into the system normally through the stomach because the stomach will break the glutathione down into amino acids. So we started getting into delivery systems. So delivery is how you get something from outside your body to inside your body. And what we're looking for there is bioavailability. We want the largest amount of that substance to get into the blood. We want it to get in quickly as well. And we got into liposomes, nanoliposomes. We eventually got into nanoemulsions, microemulsions as these delivery systems to get these compounds that might have low or even terrible bioavailability into the system in high amounts. And that's really our signature, is to be able to get all these compounds in. I mean, we're real good at putting all the compounds together that you need to hit these different pathways. But if you put them all in capsules, it wouldn't really work. So that's the key to who we are.
Yeah, you all have a really unique product line. I always love going to, all of the conferences and seeing your booth and, getting all of the samples. Your staff is so great and you all make it really easy to understand and it's very fun. And there's a lot of different products. I feel like I always see some new ones or, ones that have are the tried and true products and have been around for a while. And we will be addressing today more of that longevity product associated with the supplements you've developed. But before we really hop into that, can you talk about some of the other areas your supplements address? So I know you talked about more of the detoxification. What else does this Quicksilver do just besides more of that anti-aging?
Yeah, like when people think about anti-aging now, they'll think about NAD and things that are senolytics, take care of senescent cells, or maybe they're working on telomeres. But we put together something called the longevity wheel. And it's linking together these 6 main areas that you can affect with your supplementation. And the top of the wheel, it's got like 6 spokes around it, has NRF2 and AMPK. And so if you just say that, you don't say detoxification, and people look it up, they'll be like, oh yeah, those are really important for mitochondrial health and, things like autophagy, a very big pathway. But those are huge for detoxification. And that's actually where we start. So I always go to A4M, excuse me, and I lecture and I say, 10 years ago when I was here, I thought I was just taking out the trash, but everybody else was doing the real longevity work with, exosomes and stem cells and hormones. But when we get deeper and deeper into our knowledge of longevity, we see that detoxification is so fundamental. The triggers for detoxification, NRF2, are going to turn up free radical control and this internal free radical generation and what are called electrophiles, or the toxins. When those are in the system, they cause a lot of damage to the system, and the system actually drops from a propagating regenerative program into a just baseline, like stay alive type of program. We look at telomeres, and telomerase opens up telomeres and lengthens them. And one of the great triggers for that is having a lot of glutathione in the reduced form. It starts getting oxidized by free radicals. But this NRF2 trigger both makes more glutathione and makes more of the reductase to have that high pull of reduced versus oxidized. And this is one of the triggers that makes us go into the regenerative modes. And so even though, it's like, oh, detox, detoxification is critically fundamental. In fact, there's a whole new discussion around gerontogens. These are compounds that affect the rate at which you age. They speed up your aging. They're toxins. So you have to get these things out of the system. Cadmium, for example, this is one of the metals that we go after all the time. Cadmium is the one that causes the most of all the metals, causes the most telomere attrition, shrinking of the telomeres, leading you into these older programs. And so that is a significant gerontogen. It's one of the reasons that smoking ages you so much, because there was so much cadmium in there. So this is where we started, is not just taking away the trash, but you're turning up the tone inside the cells to have a high production of your cellular antioxidants, take away the things that cause mitochondrial dysfunction, lubricate the telomeres. And then from there, we got into AMPK, and we call that more metabolic detoxification. That's what's activated when you carb restrict, when you water fast, when you exercise. And that activates this sort of biological cleanup that we call autophagy, taking damaged cells or damaged, say in mitophagy, taking damaged mitochondria up and out of the system to make way for new ones. And then the new ones are triggered more as you go into NAD and sirtuin activation. But even detox can't be separated from NAD, because NAD has this sister NADPH that is the reducing factor that makes the reduced glutathione after you've oxidized it from the oxidative stress. So it's NAD actually prevents against toxicity by buffering up the detox system. So as you get into these real longevity things, it's really hard to pull them apart. And then, sirtuin activation. Oh yeah, we love that. Resveratrol, pterostilbene, sirtuins are going to make us live longer. But the ultimate sirtuin activator is NAD itself. And if you throw in a whole bunch of resveratrol and your NAD levels aren't high enough to support it, it'll actually pull NAD out of the mitochondria and starve the mitochondria and cause that mitochondrial dysfunction. So these programs, and the one we're going to talk about today, weave all of those different pathways together. So while we did start with detox and went into metabolic, of course, COVID came, so we had to make a bunch of immune supplements and, then the sirtuin activators and senolytics. Well, it turns out the senolytics were all stuff you're using for detox anyways. and so it's a little hard to pull them all
right.
apart.
It sounds like you're doing all of it though, right? You're doing a little bit of everything, which again is
a little bit of everything.
Yeah, it's what makes Quicksilver so great. It's, kind of that one-stop shop where
we even have a whole hormone system.
Okay,
female hormones, totally taken care of, every single one. Male are a little bit trickier. Usually women are more difficult, but men, it turns out, are fundamentally more difficult when it comes down to testosterone. But with testosterone, we even have a delivery system for that goes out to the compounding pharmacies, like TaylorMade will license that, and they can make these sublingual testosterones. And we're even getting into peptides. And so we're trying to hit every little part.
Yeah, I just love how you are very specific and dedicated to, making all of these unique compounds, but also the number one priority you were talking about earlier is making them bioavailable as well. So it's the best, the best stuff you're going to get out there. You're not going to get any better than that. So it's really quality products.
No, you know what? I got to show you this little thing. It's a little shot with 1,300 milligrams of liposomal NMN.
Oh, wow.
It's a massive amount. And I made it there was a study that was forming, and it's not going to be done right away.
Yeah.
And they were looking at supplementation in Parkinson's. And so I want to get this massive dose. And I took one of these the other day, and it was like a search beam shooting out of my head. It was like I never felt so much energy coursing through me. Yeah, I want to call it NAD lightning.
I like it. So I'm assuming you're the guinea pig for a lot of your.
Of course.
Yeah, you have to be, right?
Well, I have to be, and then we have a lot of guinea pigs around here. And it's there's always a lot of willing participants.
Yeah.
but that, I was the first one to try that.
Yeah, I know. I like it. I like the lightning. Good marketing there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so our main focus, we both keep hinting at it. I'm finally going to get into it and why we partnered with Quicksilver in our testing. So, we're discussing that experiment that you've previously done with us, but it was a specific product line. So again, incorporating all these different kind of steps, and it didn't just use that single product, but a combination of 3 phases. So can you explain, and you've touched on some of this already, but each product category and then the goal at the end of those, 3 phases?
Oh, absolutely. We were approached by one of the partners in this study, and they had, I don't remember the name of that study where they're doing DHEA and metformin.
Oh, the TRIM trial.
And growth. Yeah, the TRIM
Okay.
trial. They're looking at the TRIM trial, and they wanted to do something like that. They were thinking of using metformin and some other things. And one of the people they knew was like, hey, you should use these Quicksilver products. Our AMPK charge acts, very much like metformin acts, acting on the AMPK pathways, put you into ketosis in like 30 minutes. And so they're like, well, let's start from that. And so they came to us and they're like, well, we want to do a trial and look at the rate of aging, the dunedin poem or the dunedin pace, and absolute biological ages like the Sinclair clock. And we want to have this intervention, what would be your best intervention? And I'm like, well, I'd put it together this way. I'd start with detoxification and removing barriers, and that'll be a lot of NRF2 and some AMPK charge. And so you're between those two. A lot of compounds go right between the two. And then you move into this next month where you're still detoxifying, but you're really focusing on bringing up that metabolic profile and focusing on mitochondria and mitochondrial biogenesis. And then you keep that last month where the detoxes come down some, but that AMPK, sirtuin, NAD mitochondrial package is still going there. So we did 40 people before and after on the rate of aging. Well, we did a couple of clocks, but really the relevant ones are the Sinclair clock. It still seems to be the best, and the Dunedin pace or Dunedin poem. And we were able to significantly change the rate of aging, and that had been done before. We kind of took our baseline to beat was the calorie trial. The calorie trial was 2-year calorie restriction, and they were able to change the rate of aging even in the first year, but they weren't able to change even after 2 years the absolute biological age, whereas we were able to see both. And we got about, an average of a year off the clock in this 3-month intervention. And so we got both those clocks to shift, or, one's an algorithm, one's a clock. And we were super happy with that.
And so you did those 3 phases. Was that something you put together for this exact study, or did you have that kind of figured out before?
We did. It was based on stuff that we'd done before, but we evolved it a little bit for this.
I love it.
And now we market it as
the
bio age reversal program.
Right. No, I like it. And you see great results. I know you had you said 40 participants. And one of the largest changes we saw was actually that reduction in the Dunedin pace, which is not studied very much. I mean, it's so new. The interventional data is limited. So something like this is just so powerful. And then you all are expanding this cohort as well, right? Before you're going into it?
Yeah, well, we took, I don't remember how many of those, 30, we tried to get them all. I don't think we got them all. Maybe we have 30, and the results will be in real soon. And we kept them going for another 6 months, and we used another new product that we had called Longevity Elite. And that's got a number of very classical adaptogens. There's 3 forms of ginseng. There's hoshawu, there's ashwagandha, but especially in there is pure cycloestragonol and astragaloside 4 and a little bit of pregnenolone, your mother hormone. And so that was added in, the AMPK charge, which has AMPK and sirtuin activators, and the NAD were kept going. It was called, I think, think we used NAD platinum in that one,
Gotcha.
which is a liposomal NMN with some methylation factors, B2, TMG, and methyl B12. And so we kept that going for another 6 months. And, I'm going to see the results within the next week or two.
Yeah, very exciting. So I'm sure we'll see, fingers crossed, some more reversal there. So you all are using all of these amazing products, and you're probably, you definitely are, not a doubt in my mind, targeting all of these, hallmarks of aging. There's more than 9 now. They keep adding more and more.
Yeah.
What product, and this is, speculation, but what product do you think is having, the most potent anti-aging effect that we're actually seeing? Would you go back to the detoxification because it's clearing it out, or kind of something then that's powering through afterwards?
It's, in the detox, we had this formula called liver sauce, and that's, it's got some bile movement upregulation because the toxins go out with the bile, but then it has some things for NRF2 upregulation that are also AMPK activators and are also senolytics. So quercetin and luteolin, lipoic acid, milk thistle. So that's going to have some very broad anti-aging effect. But then in the second month, we swap that out for the AMPK charge. So in the AMPK charge, then you're a little bit more blood sugar and cardiometabolic, and then you still have quercetin in there, but you have resveratrol and berberine, silymarin is still in there, and DIM. And that might be your most well-rounded one.
Gotcha.
The NAD platinum is right in the running for sure, though, because you've got the NMN. Oh, I said NMN and methylation factors, but I didn't mention that there's quercetin and resveratrol in there as well. Now, it's at lower amounts, but there we're just trying to help along with the NAD to keep the sirtuins rolling. And so, my sort of big two, in that study, it would be the AMPK charge and the NAD platinum. But then that longevity elite that's kind of come along for the second half, that's got a lot of the same activity. You can see everything's coming down to how do we affect mitochondria. It's the center of the whole thing. And there's so many, NRF2 is huge for it. AMPK is huge for it. Sirtuins are big for it. Senolytics are big for it because senescence all starts at a mitochondrial level. But why does senescence start? It starts because a toxin came in and caused telomere attrition, which causes the mitochondrial dysfunction. Then the mitochondria spread the senolytic, that phenotype of pro-inflammatory cytokines. So, it gets hard to pick it down to one. And you'll see there's a lot of compounds that overlap through a lot of these. So, I probably say MPK charge might be the number one right now, up there with NAD.
It's hard to choose when you have such an amazing product line. That's it.
Which of your children is your favorite?
Yeah, exactly. It's your baby. That all sounds great. I need to re-up on my Quicksilver protocol and add some more things in there. I know you also do just a lot of other studies. Like you all are just so data driven, right? And I think, again, that's something that makes Quicksilver very unique, because you see a lot of supplement companies out there that don't have any, data behind them. And that's a little bit frustrating as a consumer, right? Especially when you have a scientific background. So what are other, studies showing, or what are people reporting back after they take these compounds and go through, a cycle of maybe the anti-aging protocol? Are you getting good results there too?
Yeah, no, we're getting really good ones. And, you pick apart these different parts. We're trying to expand. We've done some early blood sugar work with AMPK charge. And so if you do like an oral glucose tolerance test with and without, the blood sugar levels come way down. And so we want to get a little bit of more long-term stuff with hemoglobin A1Cs and, just look at, that fasting insulin and see how we change that over time. Early stuff that we did was mostly around metal detox. And so we'd see the metal levels go down and we'd see changes in the system. There was one that we did, this wasn't a formal study. It was more of a case study with Dale Bredesen, who does all the brain, early cognitive impairment work. And he brought a case to us, and they couldn't do it. A 56-year-old, they couldn't do anything to really help this guy. Early cognitive decline, racing thoughts, anxiety, depression, and full metabolic disease. I love how these two overlap, and he wasn't a really heavy guy. And turns out he had massive mercury levels, and we did our approach of going in there, NRF2 upregulation, a lot of glutathione binding specific for that, but all these other things that really are metabolic aspects that are coming in there. We were able to reverse all the guy's early cognitive decline. It changed Bredesen's trajectory fundamentally.
Yeah.
It was all supplementation to build. And then he's like, it's like the military thing. I got to take away before I can put back in.
Yeah, back up off the gas pedal a little bit before slamming down.
Yeah, if I don't get this junk in there, I can't fill enough in there to ever fix these things. And so that became really big for us. I know we're trying to get into some Parkinson's studies now, and that'll be a lot of fun. So there's a variety of opportunities coming this way, and we're trying to make more. You're trying to split your focus between how much you're making money for the company to keep it going and how much you're investing in research. And so as I take on some more people, I should be able to get a little bit more time to do more in research. Oh, and we're going to do a lot with the hormones in the next year. I mean, and we're also going to pull in some of the age clocks as well. In that, you take a perimenopausal woman, she's coming up to 50, maybe cycling, still on a little bit spotty or off. The rate of aging goes way up, and this hasn't been looked at, but it's so well known that this is happening. Phenotypically, you see it so quickly, and so I really want to do those. You do your phenotypic and your genotypic tests in that. I want to see what happens over 6 months and 12 months, because I know I can change how everybody feels, in like 2 to 4 weeks. It's like, oh my God, I'm a new person. But then, let's walk back the age clocks.
Yeah, even having that clinical data to support that is it just makes that point much more strong and sufficient. That objective data. So no, that's great. I love hearing those case studies, like you talked about with Dr. Bredesen. Those are just even changing one person's life. It has a profound effect. And
we have so many others. I mean, because it was like in the beginning, we were working at just not where we're working now, where we're taking this person and making them that person. We're taking that person down here and bringing them up. So it was all, chronic Lyme disease, mercury toxicity, mold. We had tons of autism work, and those are the real like tearjerker stories. You get that stuff all the time. And that was like bringing them back up onto the table, getting them back in the world, or getting an autism kid to be more integrated into the neurotypic world, and we did a ton of that, and that's really the most rewarding. But I do love all this longevity and getting people up to optimal performance.
Yeah, that's amazing, and super excited about the hormone studies as well in women, because I mean that's a question I get all the time. Hey, what about the hormones, or what about women in general? Because you'll see, and this is with a lot of trials. In epigenetic aging, they want the most, unhealthiest older male, because they have the largest ability, the best ability, I guess, to actually reverse those age clocks because they're aging so bad, right? So the need just for very diverse groups to have research is just huge. Yeah.
And then to start teasing it. And the problem is you're trying to see this result in a study. So you start like sort of hedging up against, I have all obese 65-year-old men. Oh my God, look at the change I got. Right. But having a big, broad range of people, and the thing that scientists aren't always good about, because reductionism lends away from this, is to be able to break it all out. So if I have a cohort that's ranging from 30 up to 70, what are these people doing versus these people versus these people? Who are the ones who are non-responders? And that's something I really want to go back into, because in that 40-person study, there was a couple of people who just nothing moved, or maybe even got worse. And to go back in and see what's going on with them.
Right, diving into like N of one. Hey, what actually happened here? I think that's
because we gloss over the specific mechanisms of how we're doing this. So NRF2 upregulation, I say, oh, this compound goes in, upregulates NRF2, call it lipoic acid. And you think that it's just some sort of gift of God. We're all into this plant medicine worship, and it's like, oh, the plant is going to tell us, and it puts it in as gift of God. It's not. It's not a freebie.
Right.
NRF2 is a stress response regulator, and it turns up on its own when you have higher oxidative stress or higher electrophilic and electrophiles you can just call toxins, and it turns up all that chemistry to get this stuff out of the cell. So these compounds, whether it's lipoic acid or sulforaphane or quercetin, they can all hit this switch, are all mild toxins.
Right.
And it's a hormetic switch. Now, phenobarbital, methylmercury, arsenic, those are all NRF2 upregulators too, but there's a hell of a lot of collateral damage that comes along with that.
Right.
So you got to be in there, you got to go in and you got to flick the switch without damaging things and then have it flush out and clean everything up. But what if that switch is broken? And then you go in, and I've heard these stories before, people on large amounts of lipoic acid, and they have these really negative reactions. And that's usually because that switch doesn't work. And so then these side issues happen. So it's important in the next phase of this that we figure out, where are the cases where these triggers aren't working for us, and what do we need to, it's kind of post-COVID. COVID was a big NRF2 and AMPK down regulator. So these people coming off COVID, you can't give them those things. You have to give them like vitamin C, something that's nice and soothing, and some CBD to bring down the inflammation. And so getting more sophisticated with how we understand these things. And when people come in and they want to, oh yeah, man, I'm aging really badly, I want to get back on track. What do you do with these guys first? Because really, we're playing in a ground where, Dave Asprey or Ben Greenfield comes in. Yeah, I want to do this. It's like they're already freaking humming. They've had all the best stuff. They've been injected up the. You can throw anything at them and it's good. Yeah. But when you take the morbidly cardiovascularly obese person, what do you do first? How do you get there?
Yeah, definitely. It's more that, and that's again why Quicksilver, to everyone listening, is such a great company, because you're really taking, there's all these different supplements, but you're taking an N-of-1 personalized approach too, right?
Yes.
Seeing, hey, which one's best for me? Or, maybe try this first, then this second. And it might not be the
exactly. And even in, and we're just rolling out some training programs, Quicksilver Scientific Institute, so we can get the certified licensed practitioners up to speed and get them all like, here's your blueprint. This person comes in, they're super sensitive. We got a pre-tox protocol. We're not hitting NRF2. We're just opening up liver, kidney, GI, just get things going slowly, get them up. And then, when you do go to these other detox programs, start low and build up, so you can really understand how to get people into the right space before they're going and they're spending all this money on, other things like peptides and the hormones and the stem cells and exosomes.
Right.
There's a lot of work before you get there if you really want the best result.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, start with, lifestyle supplementation, kind of work your way up there. So all super intertwined. And I want to hold on to a piece you just talked about with COVID. So again, you have all these products. TruDiagnostic, we do the immune cell subset. We do some of the immune ages and different things. So how do your products align with the immune system? There has to be some data and some really
that was a great thing that came out of your study. You're doing the immune cell subsets, and in senescence of the overall system, immunosenescence is one of the biggest deals. That immune system is getting weaker and weaker and weaker. And that means, it can't fight off the diseases so well. It doesn't have the surveillance on, your own neoplasias. And there's things like synaptic pruning are going to be different. There's so many ways that the immune system feeds into your aging. And that's just getting weaker and weaker. B cells are one of the things that really gets changed. Natural killer cells. You have more, but they're less active. And we saw significant positive changes in B cells, natural killer cells, and monocytes. And that was just fantastic. And that was just following this program of detox, metabolic and mitochondria. And, really what kills the immune system? Toxicity. What drives the immune system? Mitochondria.
Yeah. So, no, I just think that's such a good point, especially again, with COVID being so prevalent, everyone being immunosuppressed. We need to bring that back up into range. And you're just going to feel even that much better because obviously if your immune system is down, you're not going to feel great. So
no, and you look, we got over the COVID wave and this year was almost worse. I mean, these flus and RSVs and people get all kinds of stuff. They're just a mess. Their immune system's just trashed from COVID. It's like, it's got PTSD and it's like, I know the COVID's coming, coming. And then it just gets nailed from the other side by whatever comes around. And so resuscitating that. And then of course, we talked cardiometabolic multiple times here, and that was where COVID was its most lethal in the cardiometabolically depressed. And that's, the importance of bringing this all up is just, can't be overstated. And so, so even this movement to using Ozempic for everybody's weight loss, I think it's good. I mean, at least, we're like thinning down the population a little bit and making them a little bit more efficient. I mean, I'd rather they did this, but,
Yeah. And it's like protect your body or give your body everything it needs before the sickness happens, right? Remember, it's all about more of this preventative care. So if you're using these products as preventative, it will help.
And there was a lot more awareness of preventative medicine from COVID, especially early COVID, where there was no vaccines and no oral this and that. So it was like, just give me the C and the D and the glutathione.
Give it all to me. Well, this has been great, Dr. Shade. I have one last question for you. I know you're doing that next step in our study with Quicksilver, and we'll have those results to you very, very soon. Super excited about that. But what's just next for you in Quicksilver? I know you showed me the lightning product in the beginning, but like what keeps you up at night? What makes you excited?
This next year, we got a whole sales force and we're doing a lot of regional events, and it's bringing more of the practitioner community into a Quicksilver community. And as we do, finding the people that want to do research and want to give us feedback, want to beta test our NAD Lightning, or, they have a client base that wants to participate in this.
Sure.
And so in the early growth phase, it was kind of scrambling to get out there and less of a relationship with our practitioners. And so this year, to build that practitioner tribe so that we can do more either formal trials or informal trials.
Right.
We often miss that science starts from observation. And by the time you do some double-blind, placebo-controlled thing, or by the time you do, like when you do a PhD, all the papers that make your PhD, you did them in the last couple of months because you just went scrambling about and screwing things up for a couple of years until you saw what the problem really was and the solution really was. And then you design a nice little clean experiment and you get your final data. And so I really relish that period of finding new information, testing it out.
Oh yeah.
And I want more friends to do that with.
Yeah. I love that. That's so simple. I don't even remember last time I thought that science starts with those observable steps, right? That's the first thing you learn in your 8th grade biology class.
Yeah.
And that's why TruDiagnostic, that's why we partner with people like you and all these healthcare providers first, because they have all this covariate information and data. They have a patient population that wants to be involved, especially, the providers that we work with. So I love that you're building a community. It just brings everyone together, and there's just so much, use in that, people being able to ask questions and really interact with one another.
Absolutely. We'll be able to move this all forward faster the more all of us do that. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, no, I appreciate your time, Dr. Shade. I know I learned a lot on this, little Q&A interview. So we'll get this out to everyone. And for any of those who have questions about, our study with Dr. Shade and Quicksilver, feel free to, reach out to either of us, and we'll put that in the show notes. Thanks so much, Dr. Shade.
Thank you, Hannah.